So we're going to talk about Minor, and he was our 26-year-old black Tennessee walking horse stallion that came in on 7/15, and he was thin. We scored him a BCS 1 out of 9. He had ulcers around his mouth and on his tongue and in his mouth. He also had a wound over his right hind leg, right over the hock.
Yes, I do. If you look at the joint from the back, you can see how wide the leg is. It almost can't not be in the joint in that location. Like if you look at Sapphire's legs, her injury is just below, but he's right over proximal, middle, and distal.
Puncture wound right over
Yeah.
top of it. He's got ulcers all over his tongue too.
Did you see on the bottom of his tongue?
I did. What do you think on age?
Oh, poor guy. 26?
I could agree with that.
Actually, guys,
Wasn't all the way back there. There's gas. He doesn't have osteomyelitis. He's got an osteophyte right there. You gonna try for the, let's try for a DP.
So we wanted to take radiographs of him, and this is what he looked like. And it's kind of hard to see in all the soft tissue angriness, swelling, that there is a gas tract that goes right towards the joint. And if I do this, you may or may not be able to see it too well, but on the edge of that bone, it is starting to get irregularly like fluffy looking. So we are concerned that he had joint involvement from that wound. So it's kind of hard to see because it's not super crisp soft tissue, but there's a black line that starts to come in like that, and that's where the gas tract is. And then if you look at this edge of the bone, you can see it's not really sharp and crisp like some of the other bones in his joint are. Like up here, that line is pretty smooth, but down here it gets kind of fuzzy and irregular. It's not super easy to see on this view, but there's some gas trapped here and stuff, and his joint is collapsed. All three of these joints, proximal, distal, and tarsometatarsal, are all collapsed.
So this poor guy is at least 25, 26 years old. He is a stallion. He is severely emaciated. You can see all of his ribs and his whole pelvis, and he has a very large wound over his right hock that is communicating with the hock joint. He has bony changes on radiographs, and it smells and looks like this has been open and infected for a really long time. So unfortunately, our prognosis for treating an open hock that already has sepsis is very grave. But then in addition to that, he's got his whole mouth is just filled with ulcers, this poor guy. He's been seeking out water since he got here, kind of filling his mouth with water and just holding water in his mouth. So he's probably seeking some relief. He's had some pain meds, and he's been a very good boy. But Dr. Gina and I are recommending the last act of kindness. This boy is just going to continue to suffer, and it's the best thing we can do for him.
Joint sepsis or infection of joints or joint spaces is really hard to treat without severe like regional imperfusions, IV antibiotics, which we could do, but it's hard to manage those kind of cases when it's advanced in his age and the multiple wounds and scars and things that he had and his advanced age. I know people are always wanting to save the horse, which we do, but unfortunately, prognosis goes from fair to very poor when joints are involved, and it takes a lot of work, and the horse has to be really willing to fight, and it takes very intensive management. And sometimes the horses, even though they want to pull through, don't, and they just decompensate, and it's very tragic. So instead of putting Minor through that at his advanced age, just for the sake of us trying to help him, we decided on the last act of kindness for him, just because it was a pretty significant wound involving the hock. So he was a very beautiful boy, but we didn't want him to have to suffer just for us to try and save him.